If you're in the military or were honorably discharged from the military and you have a family member who entered the country illegally, this military parole in place thing might be just what you need, and I want to talk to you all about it. Hi, I'm attorney Hillary Walsh, and I've been helping immigrants since 2012 get their papers, and I'm also a 20-year military spouse. My husband just retired in 2024 from the Air Force after 20 years of service. So thank you so much if you're a military member or have a family member who is. We appreciate you so much. And that's kind of why USCIS created, or why the government has created, this opportunity for you and your service to be able to help certain family members if they entered the country without permission. So let's talk through who qualifies, what kind of some of the steps are, and you can also read more about it on my website. So let's start first with who qualifies. Well, first of all, you have to have been in the military. And if you're a veteran, so you've served in the military and you're no longer in the military, you have to have been honorably discharged. If you were dishonorably discharged, then you're not actually able to make use of this particular program. Maybe we can look into something else. But for the Military Parole in Place program, you have to have been honorably discharged or you are currently serving in the military. Okay, and of course, this is the U.S. military. National Guard and those sorts of things also count, so that's good. Next up is who can you essentially help through your military service? Or if you have entered undocumented, which of your family members needs to serve in the military for you to be able to essentially cure or solve that problem? The answer is pretty straightforward, and I want you to think of like your immediate family tree. So it can be your spouse, or if your military member passes away, if you're the widow, it can also be you as a widow or a widower. So your spouse, it can be your parent, and it can be your children or your stepchildren under the age of 21. So your very immediate nuclear family, and then also including your parents. It cannot be your sibling, it cannot be your cousin, aunts, uncles, and things like that. It's going to be right here, very, very close to you in terms of your children or stepchildren under the age of 21, your spouse, or if your military member has deceased, if you are a widow or widower, or your parents, and depending on who it might be, it could also perhaps include your step-parent. So now we know those pieces. You gotta be a military member, honorably discharged. It's gonna be a qualifying family member who you can help. And let's talk about an illegal entry. Sometimes people have entered with a visa and they've overstayed, but they have these other issues that make it where they can't leave the country. Military parole in place doesn't actually help you. And if you file for it, it's just going to get denied and could potentially cause other problems if you entered with permission. So this is not the program for you if you entered with a visa and overstayed, or potentially even if you entered by being waived through something called a Keelantan entry. I have a whole podcast on that if you want to look up Immigration Law Made Easy and Google the immigration case Keelantan within my podcast, where it talks about what qualifies as a Keelantan entry where you're waived through. Why this is so important is you have to have entered without permission, okay? And if you file and you entered with permission, or you were waived through, or otherwise don't qualify for this process, it could result in the U.S. government putting your family member in removal proceedings, which would be very, very catastrophic for you, because we don't want the government to try to start deporting them when you're in the process of just trying to help them fix and regularize their immigration status. So you have to be very, very clear about whether or not they entered with permission or without permission, as some would say illegally. Once you do those things and you kind of figured out that this is the right path for you, then what we can do is file an I-131. I've got a whole explanation of how to go about it and kind of the things that you need to do on my website that might be really helpful for you if you want more information about what needs to go on there. But the most important pieces are figuring out, do I qualify? And if so, how do I go about this process for my family member? And you, as the military member, do write like an affidavit essentially explaining who you are. We provide proof of your either current service or your past service with your honorable discharge and things like that. Because I have this military background in my family, I've helped lots of other people who've gone through this process for their spouses and for their stepkids. And it's been such a rewarding process, and lots of parents, of course, along the way as well. So if you would like help please reach out to me. I'm Hillary Walsh at New Frontier Immigration Law, and I'd love to be able to help you do your military parole in place. And I will say, before I go, if your family member entered with permission, or perhaps for some reason they cannot, otherwise fix their status, there are other options that are called deferred action for family members of military folks. So maybe this process doesn't apply, but perhaps a military family member deferred action plan would. So don't give up the hope. Give me a call if you need any help.